IEC releasing that report with provisions of the Political Party Funding Act. The report revealing that there's only 3 political parties, the ANC, the DA, and Action SA, that declared the donations of over 100,000 rand. Right2Know's program coordinator, Thami Nkosi, joins us now live from Cape Town for some reaction. Thami, thank you so much for making time. Are you surprised that it's only 3 political parties that have so far made these declarations? Thami, we're going to ask you to please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Clement. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
And good afternoon to the viewers at home. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm surprised and also disappointed that the bigger parties like the EFF, your IFP, and them did not respond to this call. So that raises questions about what their intentions are. So it's a good step. We know this is a quarterly report. I mean, from the promulgation of the Party Political Funding Act coming into effect on the 1st of April until the end of June. So good step, yes, but disappointing that some decided to ignore the calls from IEC to actually make these declarations.
Yeah, and some of the parties, I mean, have been making noise about how they're committing to supporting the act, they will comply with the law. Should we assume that they simply ignored what is required of them, or that perhaps they didn't have any donations in the stipulated period?
It would be interesting. I think if we had to read through the entire report from IEC, I mean, I acknowledge and recognize that it's just it's not even 2 hours after that the presser had ended. So as soon as we can read the report, hopefully it can shed some light into details as to whether it was total ignore or whether there is some foul play insofar as political parties wanting to withhold certain information, of which then that would be a problem, because then the constituencies that they have should ask questions about transparency about their own political parties.
So who is meant to regulate to ensure that the act is complied with? Is that the responsibilities of the parties themselves, or is it the responsibility of the IEC, or are they relying on the political parties' goodwill?
It's a combination of a couple of things. One is, the goodwill, but also the IEC needs to then report to Parliament insofar as, whether because this is an act of Parliament, as to whether the political parties are actually sticking true to the regulations that governs them. Because, I mean, this is a 3-pronged thing. So it involves the IEC, Parliament, and political parties.
Yeah.
I think this will go to a point where the IEC would then have to report back to Parliament insofar as what their findings are. Perhaps maybe after an annual report has been tabled, that could share some intricacies. I mean, this quarterly report could share some information insofar as whether people ignored or whether people hide something. But then ultimately, there's going to be involvement of the Auditor General, because political parties are supposed to have their own auditors to be able to publish on their website, then therefore the financial statements. So this is just the beginning of a longer process, which I hope would be a lot more tighter as we move forward.
Yeah, just remind our viewers why it's so important for political parties to comply with this act. How important is that in our constitutional democracy?
Right. One is we know of states that are actually bought off by conglomerates, right? And we're talking about, right now we have a problem with state capture and all sorts of things. Had this been in place before, then chances are we would not necessarily be in a situation where we find ourselves in. In any democracy, political parties need to be accountable to their constituency. Political parties need to be transparent in order for the democracy to function properly, to ensure that there isn't any private interests that are actually prioritizing over the needs of the citizens of that country or the people of that country. So as a result, this is a very important thing that communities should actually demand of their political parties, so that they can see who influences their political positions or their policy positions, so that they can be able to then distinguish whether the political party is actually doing what it's claiming to be doing, which means standing for the rights of the people that they claim to represent, or whether they're serving the interest of private interests.
Yeah, no, Thami, thank you so much for making time. Always appreciate it.